Is it on? Huh? It'll be on. All set. Good evening and welcome, fellow villagers. I'm glad that there are so many of you here tonight. We will hear a presentation from our consultant, Chris Hopkins, via Zoom, from CT Consultants about the progress of our comprehensive plan. Chris will also identify some of the other topics that the advisory committee will be discussing in their upcoming meetings in the fall. We are so grateful for the work of all our volunteers who have helped us in so many ways to bring the comprehensive planning process alive. Not only the members of the advisory committee, but also our key interviews, outside perspective members, PR and communications, and the neighborhood outreach team. Nearly 175 have contributed some of their time over the last 9 months. Tonight, the focus is on you. Tell us what you think about what you are hearing tonight, and we have an orderly process for doing so in the posters that are around the room. Chris will go into more detail. I also want to stress that tonight we are focusing on issues and assets, and that the draft long-term goals for the village. You all have opinions and ideas, and listen to the information respectfully with an open mind, and we will let the advisory committee know your thoughts by communicating your feedback back with the posters. We thank you so much for attending, and we expect this meeting to be 2 hours or less, and either Chris Hopkins, who's going to take over now, or Sandra and Chris's co-worker will be giving you some instructions to follow around the room. So again, welcome and thank you for coming.
Good evening. I'm just double checking. Is the presentation up on the screen? No, it's the wrong slide. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Oh, shucks. Darn. Okay, now the presentation should be up on the screen. So I'll go ahead and get started. Thank you very much for coming, and I apologize that I'm unable to attend. hopefully I'll be at the first neighborhood meeting that starts, or that's going to be held on Wednesday. I hope that my bout with COVID will be up by then. But be that as it is, we'll get started with the first town hall workshop. The agenda tonight, or what you can expect, as Mayor Schneider mentioned, we will have a presentation for about the next 30 minutes or so to go over the work of the advisory committee, as well as just an overview of what a comprehensive planning process entails. We'll touch on the key issues that have surfaced both from the work of the advisory committee as well as the survey results. And then we have draft goals and a draft vision statement to present to you as well. And then once the presentation is over, then it's a workshop, open house type thing for everyone to move around and do the activities on each of the posters. As you can see from around the room, we have 8 different posters, each with its own theme, subject matter, and set of questions or activities for you to provide additional insight and input. And then at the last, Chip or Sandra or someone will wrap up and talk about the next steps, which is primarily the neighborhood meetings. So first, just a little overview, short overview of what a comprehensive planning project entails. A comprehensive plan is a guide, so it provides input for decision makers of the village, such as city council or village council, the planning commission, etc., the historic district committee, people who make decisions. That this guide will, or the comprehensive plan will identify issues that may come up during the discussions with council, etc. And the topics that we are addressing are physical features of the village, economic considerations, and the social well-being of residents in the village. But the bottom line is the whole process focuses on the future of Gates Mills. There are a number of essential elements that are addressed in a comprehensive planning process. The first one is that the key and fundamental aspect of a comprehensive plan is that it identifies long-term goals and objectives that identify what it is that the village would like to achieve ultimately. So it talks about things related to community policies and investments, but the goals and the objectives, they arise out of and are supported by research and analysis and our forecasting or anticipating what will occur over the next 10 years or so. And it's also supported by public input. So right now we are gathering research and conducting research and analysis. The fundamental aspect also of a comprehensive plan is that it has a long range outlook. So this is called the 2032 plan for Gates Mills, because that's about the amount of time you can put together actions. But the vision and the overarching goals are long range in that they are looking out 20 years or so. The plan also includes a set of strategies and action steps to help identify how you're actually going to achieve the goals and the objectives outlined in the plan. And then fundamentally, it's important to remember that a comprehensive plan is a guiding document. Anything that's addressed in there, such as zoning changes or environmental regulations or even options for taxing structures, things like that, those are identified in the plan, may be identified in the plan, but in order to effectuate any of the strategies and action steps, such as zoning changes, such as other regulatory changes, those would go through the village's requirements as outlined in the codified ordinances. So the guiding document outlines and identifies potential changes, but it doesn't effectuate any of those changes. Those changes would only occur if village council decides at a later date to actually undertake those specific changes. One of the fundamental aspects of a comprehensive plan is engaging residents and other stakeholders, because it's very important that the plan have input from a wide variety of people, residents from throughout the entire village, so that we achieve at the final end of this plan, we achieve a plan that is supported by the community, so that there are action steps in there that when council decides to move forward on any one of those, that there is public support for that based on the extent of the public engagement that we've undergone. So you can see from this list that we have a number of ways in which we are getting input from residents. And so one of them is this town hall workshop. And then for the next couple of weeks, then the village is also undertaking the neighborhood roundtable meetings. So again, these are ways in which residents can and are encouraged to attend, to make their voices known, to make your voices known. Now, just an overview of the planning process. As I mentioned, right now we're at a stage where we're understanding today how we got here, what are the critical components of the village, and such as the land uses, such as what's in village center, etc. What's the state of the roadway system? And then after we have that, a good idea of what the existing conditions are, then that leads into the discussion of the vision and the goals. So thinking long-term, 2032 and beyond. So that helps us, after we've identified the existing conditions, the issues, and we've put together a vision and a set of goals, that's going to then guide the next step, the third step, which is creating the roadmap, which is bringing it all together with strategy and priorities focused on the next 10 years. So in terms of the project timeline, this schedule, I think, has been posted on the village's website. So we're right here where this is our first public workshop. We have a second public workshop scheduled for closer to the end of the year. But as you can see from everything that's above it, the village and the advisory committee and the other teams have been doing a lot of work. And of course, many people also contributed their input with the survey that was conducted in June. One of the things that I would like to underscore, and the mayor commented on this too, is that in order to build a shared vision, it's essential that we all maintain a set of values in terms of understanding how we are to listen and hear from everyone within the community. So first and foremost is this underscoring the importance of transparency. And as I hope all of you are aware, the village has there's a website on the village's, there's a web page, I should say, on the village's website, and everything that has been compiled so far is posted on that website. And so it's open for everyone to go read through and watch the presentations that have, the meetings that have taken place. The second item is to ensure that while we know that there is disagreement on some items, there's also agreement on a lot of things. But it's very important that for whenever we disagree on a specific topic, that we treat each other with respect and recognize that other people have a different opinion, and that's okay. The goal is to hear everyone's opinions and then make a collective decision on what's in the best interest of the village. So in order to do that, people are encouraged to participate by sharing your thoughts, your concerns, etc. And the idea is that at the end of the project, that what's in the plan reflects the things that have been addressed throughout the process. So if something doesn't come up throughout the process, then it's not going to get in the plan. So if you have something of concern, it's very important for you to share that with us. And as I said before, then listening, all ideas are worth hearing. So it's very important. And that's what the advisory committee is doing as well with the number of public engagement activities. And also seeking understanding there are different viewpoints, and the importance is trying to figure out where people are coming from and why they have that different viewpoint. And first and foremost then, or let's say last but not least, I should say, is recognizing that there is a lot of wisdom in the village. There's a diversity of perspectives. There are a lot of people who have lived there for a very long time. There are also new residents who bring an outside perspective. So I just would encourage you all to recognize that this process may get messy. There may be disagreements that come up. That's to be expected. But in the end, we want to work together to arrive at a final product with a comprehensive plan. So with that, I'll go over a few of the existing conditions. First, I want to talk about Gates Mills and its position within Northeast Ohio. So these are things that we have heard from the advisory committee, as well as from the survey results, and then the outside perspectives team that talked to different realtors. These are fundamental aspects of Gates Mills and how it fits within the region. The first bullet point here is how the village is right at the edge of Cuyahoga County. To the west, towards downtown Cleveland, you've got much more populated areas, more densely populated areas. But as you go to the west, to the east, you've got Cuyahoga County, which is quite a rural community. So you're positioned right in between, and you've got characteristics that are primarily rural in nature, semi-rural, depending on what part of the village you are in. One of the fundamental characteristics of the village that also has been mentioned throughout the whole process is the fact that the Chagrin River Valley contributes and creates this aura in the whole character and environment within which the village exists. So that's a very important aspect to be respected and to make sure it's protected and celebrated, etc. Also, though, noting how to the west is the more developed areas, you also have I-271, you have access to the turnpike, access to 90. So the village relies considerably on services and community assets that are found outside of, but nearby Gates Mills. So jobs, we heard a number of people work downtown, and it's easy to get downtown because of the highway. There's healthcare nearby, Hillcrest Hospital, and that's a great asset. Shopping and restaurants are nearby as well. And some people have commented that with all of these amenities nearby, the village doesn't have to provide them itself. So we'll get into that with when it comes to the village center, because that's where we want to talk about the balance of what's good for the village and desired by the village versus what's unnecessary because it's nearby. Also, it's important to point out that Gates Mills is one of 4 communities in the Mayfield City School District, and we've heard a lot of comments about that. I would say, though, that while that has an impact on attracting people to the village, there isn't much that the village can do from a comprehensive planning process other than advocate that there be continued interaction and coordination with the school district. Now, thinking about how things have changed in the village, as you can see on this chart, the village reached its peak population of about 2,500 people in 1990, and since then has experienced a slow decline. So right now in 2020, with an estimated population of 2,264, there's been a 10% decline since the peak. Oops. In terms of who lives in Gates Mills and some of the population characteristics, you can see on this chart that in 2000, people who were between 35 and 54 years old made up 34% of the population, which is the prime wage earning years. The village has seen a considerable decline in that in terms of wage earning population in that age group. On the other hand, the population that's 65 and older has increased considerably and at a much higher rate than what Cuyahoga County has experienced. However, it's important to remember that this aging population is a national trend. A couple of other things. Gates Mills is the second lowest population density in Cuyahoga County with 244 persons per square mile. Moving on to the environmental features. On this map here, we identify the environmental features, primarily the Chagrin River and the valley that's created by the steep slopes shown in red. There's also the floodplain along the river, and then there's numerous streams throughout the village. One of the important aspects that we've heard about is the tree canopy. And as you can see on this chart, Gates Mills has one of the highest tree canopies in Cuyahoga County at almost 70%. However, that's a decline of about 5% since 2011. So that's about 210 acres of woodlands have been lost. Now, it was pointed out to us that that's a combination of development, but not only that, also disease, trees that have been taken down, cleared because of disease. In terms of conservation efforts, so the Gates Mills Land Conservancy, as you know, since everyone recently voted on the levy, Gates Mills Land Conservancy has played an enormous role in protecting land within the village. So currently there's approximately 757 acres that's controlled in some way or deed restricted or otherwise restricted from development, thanks to the Land Conservancy. And so that's 56% of the 1,300 acres or so that are protected. Another 408 are owned by the Metro Parks and about 198 owned by the village. So you have about 25% of the village, as shown in the green and the hatched lines, are protected from development. Thinking about land use, not surprising, residential uses make up 2/3 of the area of the village. There's only 21 acres, so a very small percentage of land in the village that's commercial. And much of that is in the village center. Then in terms of public and semi-public, the village-owned land, in addition to the protected open space, and then 204 acres or so of churches and Gilmore School. That category represents almost 23%. And then finally, looking at agriculture and vacant land, those are the two categories of undeveloped land. That leaves about 10% of the village that is undeveloped and unprotected from development. In terms of the zoning, this is the zoning map that as of 2019, the biggest area colored here is the historic district, and that regulates the construction and renovations to existing buildings, existing houses. In terms of the use categories, there are 4 residential use categories that have a range of lot sizes. And then there are 2 non-residential use categories. As you can see, the largest category, which is everything that is white and pink, that's in the U1, A1 residential district that has a minimum lot size requirement of 5 acres. And that's 93% of the village. The A2 district, which is the Gatesville, along Gatesville's Boulevard. So that's about 105 acres. The A3 area is this little grouping of lots along Tom Center Road. And then in the village center, the green area is the U4 district. The U2 and the U3, as you can see, are purple areas. And then there's an orange area right in here. So as I said, very small, less than 5%. In terms of the lot size analysis, though, and looking at the zoning, knowing that the zoning was changed, let me back up. In the mid to late 1990s, the village underwent a planning process that was related to growth management and looking at ways to protect land within the village. And so that's when the minimum 5 acre lot size was discussed, and it was implemented a few years later. However, we've heard a number of people commenting in the survey and at the public meetings or at the advisory committee meetings about the concern for any changes to the development pattern. So because the expectation that any change in the development pattern as it currently exists would be detrimental to the village and bring down property values. So one of the things I wanted to point out was property values aren't just a function of lot size. And it's clear when you look at the U1A4 district, which is again around the village center area, that minimum lot size requirement is 7,500 square feet. The median lot size in the district is 22,540 square feet. The median value per acre is $716, $716,000, I should say. The lot size, though, when we look at the different sizes within that district, there was a natural break at the 21,300 square feet. So when you look at the lots that are 7,500 to 21,000 square feet in size, and you compare that on a per acre basis, the median value is over 1 million. And that's far exceeds the largest, highest value in the other 3 districts. So one of our activities around the room is for you to think about other ways of making sure that property values are protected in the village. A few other statistics. The median year that houses were built is 1962. You can see here the year built. That plays a role because of the number of houses that have been built since then. Since the 5 acre minimum lot size zoning was adopted, very few houses have been constructed since then. Single family houses make up almost all of them. Owner occupied, there are very few rentals. As you can see here, we have a few statistics in terms of median value of owner occupied housing, just over 500 million or 500,000, third highest in the county, and median 2020 sales prices at 482,000. Now switching to the assets, and we have a map, a poster of these things as well for you to add to them. But as you can see, there are a lot of things, a lot of characteristics of the village that we heard from throughout the course of this project so far. a lot of aspects that truly set Gatesville's apart from nearby communities. And then some of the other things that we heard from related to the village center, because the village center did show up as one of those areas that nearly everybody has gone to the village center for one reason or another. Out of the 542 responses to the survey, I think there were a total of 4 people who checked that they had never gone to the village center over the course of the last year. But we heard from people in terms of the kinds of additional activities that could be supported, could be considered for the village center. And those are things that we will be discussing, or you will be discussing at the neighborhood meetings. Oops. Sorry. Okay. Then the other aspect characteristics that we heard about, that there was a lot of satisfaction, were related to the different qualities of neighborhoods. So these blue, the blue colors are, the dark blue is very satisfied, and somewhat satisfied. So as you can see all along here, that nearly all of them are 80% or above, actually almost 90% and above. And the only one that didn't rise above 80% is the walkability. And as one of our committee members pointed out, that means only 20% thought that it was unsatisfactory. But we did hear in the survey that there are people who want to think through and find ways to improve walkability in the neighborhoods. Moving on to key issues and topics. So again, these are also going on posters that are around the room for you to build upon and add to. But issues related to the natural environment and how do we address environmental concerns, as well as being proactive and making sure that the natural environment that is near and dear to everyone in the village is preserved and continued to be protected. Then the second issue is the village center that I mentioned. On the next large issue relates to housing and attracting new residents. And so you can see here that the advisory committee has been identifying quite a few issues related to attracting and retaining existing residents. And so there are a number of things to be discussed moving forward. And I did want to acknowledge that we did include this questions related to future housing development in the survey. But knowing that we did not include any identification of where this type of housing, any alternative housing could be, might be permitted or appropriate, we didn't include a map. And so it's also important to note that there were people who were part of the red who disagreed about discussing one or more of these topics. But then some people did in their written choices, did say, qualify their responses and said, even though I said I disagree with XYZ, I might be open, or I could be open, or I would be open to considering, and then they fill in the blank. So part of the role of the advisory committee is to wrestle with then factual information like what I presented a few minutes ago related to value based on lot size. Other issues that are being wrestled with include roads and traffic safety, and then the variety of village services that are provided. And then finally, community image, engagement, and I should say local governance as well. One of the big topics that we'll be wrestling with over the next few meetings is related to the tax base, and noting that the amount of land that's preserved and taken off of the tax rolls, the fact that there's the village receives more income or more revenue from the income tax versus the real estate tax. So those are things that we will be looking into. Now, over the next, I want to spend just a couple of minutes now talking about the draft vision and goals. And this is a poster as well for you to weigh in. There's options for you to comment on. So the draft vision is, I'll read it, continue to be a highly desirable community that preserves and enhances the attributes that make the village truly special, fosters a deep appreciation among residents, and attracts younger wage-earning residents who are committed to the village's continued success as a community with an overall high quality of life. And then there are different attributes that underscore and describe what makes Gates Mills the highly desirable community that it is. Then the various goals that we came up with as first cut draft goals, again presented to the community tonight at the public or at the town hall meeting. The goals fall into 7 different themes, and they're basically preserving, protecting, and enhancing. So preserving the village, the rural character of the village, maintaining the harmony with nature, protecting and preserving it, ensuring high levels of community pride and resident engagement, maintaining desirable housing and neighborhoods, making sure that the high quality of housing that's there now is not ruined, ensuring that there's adequate access and connections for people to move about within the village, ensuring that the amenities and the services that are provided are high quality, and then ensuring that the village is adhering to sensible fiscal policies. So those are then spelled out in more detail through the draft goals. And I'm not going to read them to you because, as I said, they are on a poster around the room, but you get a flavor for how under each of the themes, we have a sentence that further describes what that theme means in terms of the long-term goal for the village. So these are the first 4, and then the last 3. Okay, and so that is the presentation to give you an overview of the kind of things that the advisory committee has been wrestling with, and also to give you some overview based on the kinds of things that you'll find around the room. So it's now your turn, and I'll turn it over to someone who's there live to help walk you through the next step. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much for coming out tonight. What you'll see around the room, as Chris described, are posters, and we'd really like your input. We have Post-it notes where you can write your thoughts and provide your comments in that regard. Some of the posters have dots where you can vote on different aspects of the posters. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If I can't answer your question, certainly I'm going to write it down, and we'll make sure and get back to you with the answer to that. And again, thank you so much, and we sure appreciate your input.
Thank you, Sarah. Again, thank you all for being here. My name is Sandra Turner. Chip will introduce himself as well. We're the co-managers of this comprehensive planning process. We'll be around as well this evening just to assist with completing with everyone getting to each of the posters. There's roughly probably 90 of you here. There's 8 posters. So there's going to be a number of people at each poster at any one time, but it's important for you to get to each one. They're not in they're in order, but you don't have to approach them in order. So you could start at any poster that's convenient and move around the room. When you are finished, you're welcome to leave. You don't have to stay until 8 o'clock. And Sarah obviously is here as well. She's an associate of Chris Hopkins, and we appreciate both of them for, they're leading this effort and for the presentation, especially this evening. Good job, Chris.
Yes, and as Sandra said, I'm Chip Alwarder, one of the other co-managers of this process. After tonight's meeting, hopefully you have all been inundated with a notice of upcoming neighborhood meetings. If there was a little confusion as to exactly what your neighborhood might be because you received a notice that your neighborhood meeting is neighborhood 6 at such and such a time, again, you can go to the website if you didn't notice which particular night is your neighborhood meeting. We have our first one for a couple of neighborhoods on Wednesday. That's going to be at the Fideli's house over on Village Trail. Then we have another neighborhood meeting on Thursday night here at the community house. We have one on Saturday at 10 a.m. I think the Wednesday night and Thursday night, I think are both at 6 o'clock, but you'd have to check. I don't have that right in front of me. There's 1 or 2 meetings that start at 7, but most of them start at 6. Saturday is 10 a.m. here at the community house. Then there's one next Monday, next Tuesday, and next Thursday, or next Wednesday and next Thursday. There's 6 in total. It's on the back of the handout. So, in fact, if I borrow your. Yeah, Monday and Tuesday. Yes, Monday is here. Tuesday is at Gilmore Lower School for the neighborhood 7, and Thursday is back here at the community house. Those neighborhood meetings, there will be, imagine here at the community house, there will be 10 or so round tables. There will be about 10 chairs around each table. And there'll be a very brief introduction, and then we're going to tackle 3 specific topics. So you'll be at a table, there'll be a handout of some topics or some questions to address, and it'll be a chance to dialogue with your fellow neighbor and come up with comments, insights that you'd like. And we will then have each table present what their thoughts are on that particular topic. Then we'll go on to the next topic. We're going to pick 3 separate topics, and every neighborhood meeting will be conducted the same. So this is a chance for your individual input on each of these posters around the room. And then just because you've been here, I hope that you will also try to make your neighborhood meeting. If you can't make your specific neighborhood, you're welcome to come to any of the others. You don't need to come to more than one. In fact, we're going to try to make sure that those the people who are coming for the first time get a chance to get their comments in. So, but I hope that we will see all of you and hopefully even many more at the neighborhood meetings. This is a real concerted effort to get as much input as we possibly can and feed it back to the 27 members of the advisory committee. And I encourage you to make them work. So give them your thoughts, your ideas. And we're really excited about this process. We're still in the somewhat early stage, so a lot more unfolds over the balance of the year. And as Chris indicated, there'll be another one of these public forums late in the year. So with that, get going and start going to the posters and come up with your individual comments. Thank you. Thank you all for attending.
Well, there's, so we're on, show you where we are. We're ready. Like,